it's Shaves, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 21st of February to the 28th of February. There was 28 videos I watched for Digest. Some, not all of them all the way through. I did do some of them because I enjoyed them, but I don't really have much to say about them. But these are the ones I was just like, I think I have a little something to say to try to assemble a digest of sorts. But man, you guys are killing it. Like, our community, man, we just make good videos, man. It's just nice to see. And there was a video that I did watch that I would probably give a not good to, but I don't want to deal with mid. I'm just, I don't want to come off as apathetic or indifferent or anything. I don't know. Not worth my time, really. So we're going to go with a video that, I'll probably give a decent with an asterisk. So things about this video. And it's from Hazel. A lot of people like the video, and that's fair. I mean, she does generally make good stuff, and that's why it's at a decent with an asterisk and not like a not good, because it still has her great delivery and choice and clips, like, and her level of research and all these things that she's known for, and she just consistently delivers, I think. But the thing that I had a problem with this video was just that, like, it's really, I don't know if it needed to be this long. I really don't know. It ended up being kind of like diving into things that I wasn't expecting and stuff that's kind of thorny, and for her it was very difficult for her to write, and just kind of got emotionally exhausted by it. It's like, oh, I promise next video will be lighter, I promise, or something. And I was like, I feel like you made the similar statement in the last video. It was like, this video, like the RPGs one, was like, it was a lot bigger than I was expecting. It's like every video is starting to be kind of like this, and I don't wholly know how necessary it is. Like, when she was concluding the video at like 59 minutes out of this hour and 18-minute video, I'm like, okay, yeah. Wait, there's 18 minutes left? That's a whole video. That's an entire video. And then she's, because she wants to recommend these other shows that are kind of similar to Aiken, but aren't Aiken, because doesn't really like Aiken that much, and like, that's fine. I don't really know that many people who do like Aiken, and not many people who are probably watching this video have seen it to begin with, or were looking to watch it at all. I don't know why these recommendations were necessary. Personally, like, there's just 18 minutes where she's recommending Dokuro-chan, Golden Boy, and Keijo, and it was just kind of like her being like late to the party on Keijo, and I like her talking about Keijo. It was fun, and it's like, yeah, I love Keijo too. But it was like, really? I don't know. For me, it's like, how maybe it's just I'm coming from maybe a, like, how like video game reviewers, there's a bit of a bias when it comes to like, why is this game this long? I have to review for whatever. And maybe I'm coming from that perspective as well. No, but like, even before I got to that point, there was aspects that I was like, I don't even want to talk about this video. I'd want to just click off whatever, but like, I like finishing videos usually. I don't 100% always like dropping and skipping a video or whatever. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I definitely do get the vibe where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get anything out of this. This is, but at least I kind of wanted to see where this one was going. But it kind of goes in a similar vein where she approaches a topic, doesn't wholly like the topic, and so tries to veer it in a way that is interesting. And it's like, all right, well, let's who was responsible for this anime when like she found like the credit like was like a pen name, Alan Smithy, and just kind of talking about that, but doesn't even give any real concrete answer to who Alan's, because it's not her business. And I get that, but like, pen names are very common, and she mentions that and everything. And I guess the Alan Smithy thing's kind of interesting. And then, like, so Patreon might pointed out that it's like, you couldn't have just looked at Japanese Wikipedia and just noticed that Alan Smithy is a very, very common pen name that a lot of people have used. And there's like a comment that was like, hey, I'm the one that actually translated that and put that on Wikipedia. That was Alan Smithy. And she's like, I feel like an idiot for not looking at Japanese Wikipedia. And I'm like, oh, like, it's stink, because it's kind of the downside when you go in this rabbit hole. You end up burying in so deep, you might not even realize certain things, and you might, this is kind of a potential downside for this sort of thing. But generally, it's like, I don't know. I feel like there could have been a step back to be like, okay, what am I really talking about here? where's the real direction of this video before going into the editing process. And like, you know, I've been there where like I write a video and it doesn't really go the direction I was expecting, where I figure out kind of the cool part about it as I'm making it, and like that's fine and cool. And that's if you find those things, right? But if it you know, and I get that, like, not wanting to waste any time, especially if this is like your professed job, right? And that this is the thing that you're doing. It's really bad it's seemingly really bad to kind of kill off an idea. And I mean, generally people are going to like this video either way, so it's not too big of a deal, I suppose. My concern, I guess, would be just like, I'd hate to see you burn out. And you talk about, like, in the video too, of like, oh, last year you almost had like this eye problem that sounds like really scary, and it's like, geez, maybe that's a big deal and a problem. And then and then you're talking about that in a place where you're concluding the video, and yet there's 18 more minutes. And like, maybe that's not a whole lot. Like, maybe it's just these clip selection. You could do that in a couple days maybe. But you see what I mean? You're it's like, is it possible you can make, like, I felt the same way with my when I was doing these big Gurren Lagann video and the How to Animate, you know, these bigger videos. Like, oh, I end up getting kind of frustrated that a video is this long. And then with this Naruto one, I'm thinking of like, okay, I actually kind of want to but I get where you're coming from. Whereas like, I enjoy these deep dives. I enjoy writing a bunch and not leaving anything out. It's really tough. And so, I mean, the idea that I realized from this video that I want to take away for my Naruto video, which is probably going to be super long either way, is that like, ultimately I want to respect the viewer's time. Because there were moments in this video where I was like, this is really not even about Aiken anymore. You know, like, especially leading into the law. I forget the name of it. That like stemmed from the author, and there was a logical path. It didn't just come out of nowhere, but eventually it did become such a tangent and sort of a path that just got really like exhausting and thorny. That like it just didn't become fun anymore. It wasn't as engaging of a watch, I guess. And that just, I don't know, it kind of detriment to the video, in my opinion. I think it's still interesting and maybe valuable information, but it was kind of a lot for me. So it's like, for me, I'm trying to think of, okay, I want to respect the audience's time. They're committing to making, they see this big video that's super long, and they're willing to click on it. It's kind of funny when you think about it, how like, and I think I've seen memes about this before, where like, people are willing to click on this 2-hour-long video or something, or 5, you know, however long they can get. And then, but they're not willing to watch like a 13 episode TV anime, or like an OVA or a movie or something, you know? There's like a difference in willingness, I guess. It's something about YouTube. I don't know what it is. For me though, it's like, especially if I'm going to put a lot of effort into the actual visuals and editing of it, I need to make sure that what I'm doing is worth the audience's time. And in terms of, I'm not going to outright say that this was not worth the audience's time, but I was certainly feeling the runtime this time. Time. I was certainly feeling it at this point, and it was, especially when when it's like, at the same time you're talking about how much you're working yourself up, you know, how much you're working and overworking yourself. It's like, kind of, yeah, you know, kind of hard to watch at those points. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it in this capacity. I thought it was worth talking about. Otherwise, it's not like I want to talk about all of your videos. There were some videos here that I was like, this was a good video, but I don't want to talk about this one because I feel like I talked about the last one or something like that. There are just some, you know, ends up being like that, I guess. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was just sort of like difficult at points. And also, of course, it doesn't help that like, you don't really like the OVA anyway. You don't really like it. Like, you can't even say that, you can't even really defend the manga, really. You can't even defend any of the author's work or the author himself, and that, like, all of that stuff. It was interesting, but it was just sort of like, maybe this wasn't worth making a 78-minute video for. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my 2 cents, I guess. And now for the videos I thought were decent. They're pretty good. I enjoyed them. And this first one's from Suti Tooti. It's a track that he pulled, that he made himself. He made it himself. Look, guy. Well, I mean, yeah. Look, Save Me. And I think the production's by one guy, and so I assume like the lyrics and the singing and the rapping and stuff is from Suti. That's awesome. I really like it. I put it in decent only because it's like it's a short track. It's not something that I don't want to like glory like ooh or anything like that. And this is something he definitely does kind of occasionally, or the first time I've heard him do something like this. And so it's really cool, and I just really like it. I'm really bad at talking about music and like this sort of content on Digest. I think it's hard for me to articulate into unscripted words, I suppose. And it's also like knowing that you're probably watching this too. It's also hard to like, because there's a visual of like, I don't know, telling in person like I like your music. Like that feels uncomfortable even from not even receiving it, at least to me. I don't know. No, but I did really enjoy this, and it's really cool that you make this sort of music and stuff. Yeah, I don't know much to say about it else otherwise. I really enjoyed it, and you guys check this out. I think it's really cool. Yeah. I wanted to mention this Osoweeb video, movie that put Studio Ghibli to the map. On the map? I'm sorry. Nitpick. No, and I like the idea where like it's reflecting on like Miyazaki's like burnout and turning this passion into a job thing, but it's like, oh, but if you give up, you won't make this other really cool stuff. Like he ends up making other movies that like really captivate audiences, and I do like that message as well. But I do also say it's like I think a lot of creators, especially YouTubers, like Kiki just seems like catnip because of the themes of just like, wow, I've turned my passion into a job, and I've also felt the same way. Like I've seen this sort of thing before, but I do really like the perspective of like your personal perspective, right? And seeing other people and watching other content stuff. Thanks for the shout out and stuff. But yeah, like all that sort of thing is a good. I liked that. I enjoyed that a good deal. I'm sorry, too much else to say, I guess. What was the thing? Oh, when you do other, I know you download the Kiki the movie footage because you're mostly using that, but when you show other Ghibli films and stuff, you're using like the GIFs. I think you're using GIFs. Fair. I've used GIFs in my videos too. I won't deny. I would say, recommendation, trying Sakugaboru for just if you need like a really quick clip of something and not going on to like YouTube or whatever. Sakugaboru is great, especially because they post the best clips. They just post the more actiony Sakuga heavy clips, so it's perfect. I definitely recommend that just because like especially only because it's matching with Kiki when which switches back from that kind of footage to Kiki is a little jarring. That's all I'd say about that. Otherwise, I did really enjoy it. And again, the perspective, it's not like it's something I've heard before, but it's cool. I liked it. This was surprising from Netflix Anime. Enko introduces my anime list, and not a lot of us would ever like explain my anime list this way, where it's like first create an account and then like make the list. I've mentioned my anime list in my in one of my other videos in terms of like introducing it to people, but I just kind of like recommend it as a general site. But Enko really goes into it and it's like, this is my list, and things like that. She mentions how I guess there's a list or something. There's like a TikTok trend of the top 100 anime or something, and she said that Full Moon placed in third. I was like, no way! Oh, and like that's awesome. And she brings it up. It's like I love this anime. She also put to pad the video out a bit more. She doesn't really go into like all of her list. She doesn't even like. She has like a ton of currently watching, but none of it's like marked of what episode she's on. So it's like, okay, I guess you kind of like watched some episodes, but you don't remember how much or whatever. She's definitely seems more like casual kind of watcher in that way, or not casual as in like haha casual or something, but more like she's not as like regimented like, I've watched this many episodes or whatever. Like, I get that, and I'm definitely, I think I'm probably very similar when I started my list as well. He's like, I can't remember how many episodes of this I watched. Yeah, but you watched some of them. I get that. What was I thinking? But like also the anecdote she was talking about with how she got into it with like, and she mentioned like she got into like Ojimata Doremi and some other stuff. She was in the United States, I believe, and I like her little anecdote of like she would compare the anime that's on TV with the anime that she would get from her grandma on VHS, and like comparing the two. Like, that's really cool. Yeah, so I just liked hearing more about her and her personally, I suppose, because that's the unique thing about these sorts of, it's hard to be additive on this site when it's so big. So the really unique thing and kind of the easy thing, really, it's easy in the way that's like, it's right there. I can understand it's emotionally difficult, right, to open up and be kind of personal about and share those like, personal experiences. That can be kind of difficult. But in terms of like the material, it's like it's right there. It's easy in that regard, I think. I'm shaking the camera a lot. Yeah, but I did like this video from Netflix with Enco. That was really good, and it just like kind of weird to see Netflix and my anime list being in the same place. That was interesting. It's probably like a sponsored, or she didn't say it was sponsored, so I was like, I mean, she's probably just talking about it. Interesting. Yeah. Glass Reflection had a bit of a rumination on binging or like, watching certain things, but it did kind of get a little more not abstract, but more like personal, I guess, where it's talking about like having to remember, like you can't remember fond memories of watching this show or recall what happens even in a broad sense, never mind on an episode to episode basis. And he's saying that like with parts, I forget which one, God Only Knows, he says like, I binged God Only Knows, and then I watched a couple episodes at a time of Steins Gate, and I remember Steins Gate a heck of a lot more than I remember World God Only Knows. And I have a similar ruminate. I think about the similar stuff all the time, where there's series that I say that I like, or I do like, but I can't remember almost anything about them, except for like the very surface level details and stuff, as if I hadn't seen the show. And it's I end up feeling like a poser at times, and sometimes I just like count that to my bad memory sometimes, but or just the amount of information and memory I have, where sometimes it can just be a lot. I don't know, it ends up being what was I thinking? Yeah, see what I mean? I literally just forgot my thought. You know what I mean? It's because I'm on camera, and yeah. But I'm similar. But I think what he was saying is like, granted, I liked Steins Gate a heck of a lot more than World God Only Knows, and I think that's completely accurate. I think it's like, for some reason with Ashino Joe, maybe it's because I've edited several videos about it or something, and it is my favorite. But it is just sort of thing where I can pretty much remember everything that happens, and I can, if you showed me a screen cap, it would be. It could be a good guess of like, I get kind of close of when it actually happens, and maybe, assuming what information and stuff. But like, I have such a vivid memory of that. And I have vivid memories of Ojimata Doremi too. Not necessarily watching it, but like a lot of the events that happen and like seeing people post screen caps and stuff, like I kind of remember what happens. Granted, that's another instance where I edited that video, so like that makes sense. But like, Hikaru no Go, I didn't binge it per se. It's tough. You have to find like this balance of like binging, so it's not like what Glass Reflection is saying with like with like cliffhangers and things like that. I'm sorry, I'm so blanking on this. It's because I go watch so many effing videos today. But also like where's I going with that? Fuck. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so spaced out today. I don't know. I think I just have a lot on my mind. I also like watched this after all these videos. I just had these other my personal subscriptions that are not anime, and I watched those videos too, and those affected me kind of emotionally in a way. Maybe not the best idea, and other things going on with me. But I just liked seeing that Tristan was able to just sit and record these things and just cut and be able to perform these sorts of performance like an amplified way. I always feel I was reflecting. I was just like, man, I think I'm too casual in Digest at this point. I mean, look at me now. Like just now, I was kind of a mess just a second ago. I couldn't, probably just incoherent. But he articulates himself. But he articulates himself so well, you know. And I'd probably leave that little cut in because I'm just so sloppy and stuff. And I think it was, you know, I think towards the beginning of Digest I was like that, where I was very careful and selective, and I would cut a lot of pauses and mess things up or whatever. But I think I just got so casual with that, and also lazy, and also profoundly lazy with cutting and stuff. But that's probably it too. Anyway, I think he makes an interesting case here, and caring, you know, caring about like these experiences and things. And I think one of the observations I made when I was watching it was like, you know, you make those you have those experiences as you're watching them. You might not remember a whole lot of them as it happens, so then you kind of have to enjoy the moment and enjoy the time that you have with life, I guess. If that's got a little existential for a second. Sheesh. But yeah, I mean, enjoying the shows in the moment, I think, is important, and that's why I'm so kind of I've grown to have more value for that as a whole, I guess. When I'm watching things and when I'm talking about them personally, yeah. But I liked the rumination, and and he was talking to me. I was like, yeah, sometimes I like to just turn on camera and do that. I'm like, I agree. I think that's really cool. Amen. Nice. Why every YouTuber is wrong about High Guardian Spice from Magical. And I really liked that he was on screen for a lot of this, and because I think when he talks seriously, when he's talking, not that he doesn't talk seriously the whole time, but I mean, like, when he's going into the more like personal, like, people just tore this thing apart for no fucking reason, you know, and being kind of like sincere was like, that shouldn't happen, like that's awful that happened, and kind of having a more somber tone towards the end of it, which was really nice and refreshing. I like that he focused on the stuff that he liked and gushing about it in that way. And I've already seen several kind of like High Guardian Spice defense videos, as much as I haven't even bothered that much with a lot the definite ones that are out there of the High Guardian Spice takedown types of videos. I understand why Magical didn't call anybody out. He just did that one scroll of various YouTube thumbnails and things. One of them is a defense video. I saw like Veritas Joe's video on that, and that one's a very good video. But then, like, yeah, I get it. It's just kind of dunking on this show because it fits the algorithm. It's mainly because, like, you know, these YouTubers that are doing this for like a living, that are trying to make this like a thing, and this is kind of the extent of which they do. There's some videos you want to make, and then there's videos you kind of have to make. And so there definitely is that. A lot of them probably just made it because it's clearly doing numbers and clearly what the audience wants to see. So they're going to do it, and it could be disingenuous and just compare it to Avatar. I really like this point where it's like, they're not even comparing it to other magical girl shows. I don't even know if they've seen any. It doesn't fully accuse them of that, but I think other people like Joe might have, like Veritas Joe. He was a lot more aggressive and specifically calling some posts out and things like that. But you know, I get not like wanting to cause drama and anything like that, but I think his observations were really tactful and thoughtful. His thoughts were thoughtful. Great analysis, Shabes. Yeah, and I appreciated this. I think it had a more holistic, and again, the somber thing towards the end, I think was genuinely needed. I you know, the three other, I like that each of the defense videos I've kind of seen and covered on Digest have been kind of different, where Geek Studio really went episode by episode and analyzed it and kind of was like, okay, how actually good this show is. And then Veritas Joe is having much more aggressive, fierce kind of like taking down all the shit and kind of like attacking it like aggressively. And I think Magical had a more like tactful, poised, also from experience of like loving this type of material, coming from that perspective without like singing its praises or something like that. I do really like that approach. So I think it was refreshing and I enjoyed it. Yeah. was nice. Right-ho, and what I thought were the best videos of the week, the ones where I was just like, that was awesome. Of course. For some of these, it's like, oh, yeah, naturally. But this first one is this podcast with Masked Man and Scamboli reviews. They're just chilling together. They did this podcast, and Masked Man's kind of hosting it and, like, going from topic to topic, kind of guiding it in a way, like, not talking about Dark Souls or fitness too much and kind of going different topics. Of course, the thing that I ate the most was the stuff at the beginning and towards the end, where they're talking about YouTube and their careers and where do you see yourself in 5 years, which was really interesting. Dealing with fans, dealing with envy of other creators. I really appreciated that perspective of like this kind of rivalry that the two of them would have, but also like from other YouTubers and stuff. That was very thoughtful. I really enjoyed that, and also their personal, like, oh, I'm actually really shy in real life and things like I would never want to be on camera, blah blah blah. Those sorts of observations were very frank. They seem like they're kind of like buddies. You know, they've only talked in like a voice chat one other time, and Masked Man was just like, I just want to talk with this guy. And he's like, this is the only time I'm doing a podcast, the only time that this will happen, because I get it. He doesn't want to like put himself in a box or anything, or like his fans are going to expect something like this. I can understand that. Because it can be naturally kind of demanding, especially like if he doesn't have a whole lot of other people that he can talk like this with, and not want to make a regular thing out of it because you want to be more free flowing and he does what he wants type of thing. I get that. But for what it's worth, if it's worth anything, I really enjoyed this conversation. It was very valuable to me. I really like these insights, learning more about him, learning more about Scamboli. I was also like really happy with like hearing. I'm not much of a Dark Souls fan, or like I'm not into the video games, and like I am, but like not nearly, not in the same way. But I just really liked their conversation in those terms, and it got really technical and like nerdy, I guess, in a way. And I don't know, I just really liked that. The aesthetic of that was interesting and cool to me, personally, I guess. But yeah, the rest of it was excellent, especially the stuff with the stuff that kind of feels relevant to me as a fellow creator and someone who makes videos and stuff, right? I enjoyed that. So this is a really good listen, and I think they have good chemistry with each other, and as a podcast and stuff. I will say, yeah, it's a shame that he's not doing another. He very immediately swears off the idea of doing more of them. So I won't encourage it. You keep doing what you want to do. But I hope you had fun doing that, if anything. So maybe that, like, I don't know, maybe you feel like doing it later. I don't know. Just saying. Yeah, I liked it. It was a good time. PhenomSage with a top 10 anime I watched in 2021. And dude, I mean, I don't know. I think it was because I hadn't seen a video from you in a while or something. I did just click on this video, but otherwise I'm just like, I wouldn't have clicked on this video otherwise. It's kind of like whatever, It's like, okay. But the two things that really kind of like shoot it as like, oh, I'm definitely watching more of this. Because again, I had 28 goddamn videos I was watching, and a lot of them were pretty good and stuff. But in terms of like selecting which ones to actually talk about, the two things that made this stick out to me, as well as putting in something that I really, really enjoyed, first of all, really banger on the editing stuff. I really liked the AMV montages you had, especially when the other point that makes this interesting, it's not a top 10 anime of 2021. It's the top 10 anime that he watched. That's not, it doesn't have to have come out in 2021. And I especially was interested, not wholly enthused, I suppose. I wasn't as interested, I suppose. But, like, it's still kind of like, oh, that's neat that he's willing to kind of break those boundaries of what you would consider. Because, one of those entries was Arcane, which, isn't. But, like, I can't hear enough good things about it, I suppose. So I'm like, yeah, sure. It sounds like it's really good to the point where you want to talk about it and put it in a video and stuff. Like, I get that. Totally, I feel that. And the other was a video game, 13 Sentinels. I have heard very good things about that one. So I was happy to hear you talk about that. And I kind of like the number one choice. I had to spoil it, right? But the number one choice being Idolmaster, which was a show you had already seen, but was like rewatching a bunch and just got deeper and deeper into the the franchise, I thought was a really interesting and smart choice to be like, yeah, this is like, I think this is like my all-time favorite anime now, you know, and I like that perspective a lot because how many of us have that? You know, how many of us have the Idolmaster as one of our favorite shows? I see people posting screen caps of it, of course, and it seems like a show that's really fun. But I just really like seeing that, like, you cherish it, put it at this really high pedestal, and put it as this your number one, even though you've already seen it and things, and you're just kind of rewatching it. I really liked that. It was a constantly surprising video, especially with the premise of like it could be literally any anime, and you showed a lot in that opening montage that I was then disappointed that you didn't talk about our cover, and I was like, oh, okay. Which is, you know, I guess it is what it is. But it was just like a constantly surprising, interesting video, and my thoughts was just like, I wish a lot of other people made videos like this. I would much rather a top anime from the year that you personally watched over a top 10 of the year where like a bunch of people are going to put Odd Taxi. Like, yeah, of course. You know what I mean? But like if you just kind of randomly have like Mahojin Guru Guru as like an honorable mention sort of thing, like that's exciting, that's neat. I just really like that, and I would hope more people make stuff like that. It's just super appealing and interesting to me. So I wanted to heighten that as like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. I really enjoyed that. Again, the editing is really good. I was kind of like, you're really asking for editing help when it's like, I mean, I get it. Like, you want to make more, these sorts of things. I really like the editing here. I don't know. I mean, maybe as long as it's interesting, right? There's some portions maybe where you'd want to, oh, I'll do this part, right? Maybe you do like those parts, but then all the boring kind of the not so fun things you put in the rest, have someone else do. That could work. But I mean, the stuff you had was really cool, actually. I really enjoyed it. As usual, the Canipa Effect. I would feel bad not talking about some of his videos and things because they're just so interesting and additive, and he is really one of the best that we have at the moment. And I just really like this approach to how anime creates appealing fan service, and talking about the many different ways how they make it creative, and the specific people that make it happen, like, you know, character designer or various animation directors, things like that, and, you know, the different steps that make that work. You know, giving concrete examples was great. And I really liked the premise at the beginning where it's like, you know how people were excited for World's End Harem, which is like, you can't, it's on a silver platter of like fan service, and it's like, it's right there. And yet it's ruined by the team's uncreative ability to, and so they just have to have a bunch of black pixelated garbage all over it. And it doesn't do anything for anybody. You know, that's a lose-lose, pretty much. And so it ends up, and also just the idea where, like, you know, a broken industry, like, you can't spend, there's an actual craft to making good fan service and stuff. And they, of course, acknowledging the idea that not all of it is sexual fan service. Is the idea of, like, you know, the fan service, the things the fans want to see type of thing is its own kind of fan service. But, yeah, I mean, doing that well is a craft unto itself, and explaining that and covering that in particular was really smart. And so they had, it's Sasuga Canipa Effect, you know what I mean? It's definitely expected. And so you may be tired of just seeing it in the best category every time. But it does bear repeating, because he really is one of the best people we have in this space, and proving the case that YouTube is not just a bunch of mouth-breathing brain idiot, I don't know, brain-dead people, whatever. You know, really enjoy this video. It was a good time. And I get that it was also challenging for you. You said it was one of the most challenging videos to write about. I was like, you made that look easy. You made that look very easy, I think, personally. Yeah, it was a really good job. I really enjoyed this Garnt video, revealing the secrets behind Trash Taste. I did also watch his Isekai video, and it's all right. It was kind of what I was expecting. And I think Joe from Pause and Select made a much better Twitter thread about it than I would be able to give commentary on Digest about it, so forget it. You know. But I really like his second channel, where he's really going more metatextually. Like, he talks about why he left the BBC, but now he's talking about the action, and he's not, I was worried I was going to click off as soon as I thought this was like just kind of a baity title and thumb, and he was just going to talk about like memes or something, you know. But he actually does go over like the day or the moment where they were like, let's start a podcast. What do we name it? How do we get here? What, like, talking about the pitch about it, and also how like his logic of how they were shooting for 100,000 subscribers in a year. That was their hope, and like completely understood. Like they actually, like, Geeks Plus, I guess, like thought they were that they were scamming them because they were like, you said it would do this well, you didn't say it do this well. You know. And they really didn't expect it either. Actually, the way they figured it out was they were seeing, like, yeah, it's not, because I was constantly in my head being like, yeah, it makes sense. It's three of the biggest anime YouTubers, million subscribers each, starting a podcast at the same time. Of course, that's going to do well. But they were actually seeing this like, no, podcasts don't do all that well on YouTube. They were comparing a lot of individual channels with their second podcast channels, and those don't really turn out that well. And they were also looking at the biggest anime podcast channels, and the biggest one at the time was Rant Cafe with 100,000 subscribers. Which, in the grand scheme of things, that was what they were at. Well, okay, that's as good as we would hope to expect, and that made sense in that way. But it really just worked out, and I really like him talking about like, oh, we left all the audio things to Connor because he has experience with that, and he really gives the credit to their friendship and their ability to work together, and they have different experiences and things like that, and the fact that the first 5 episodes were very specifically different from each other. I really like the insight he talked about the first figure special, where he thought of it in the shower, and then he's pitching it to the boys, and they're like, that sounds like a great idea, because he was thinking about like the Avengers and the, and I talked about it when that video came out, that it was like such a genius idea, and just giving that background insight is just so interesting, and not something you would see on his channel or on Trash Taste. So I really like that he has the second channel to be more personal and open in that way. Yeah, I just really like that. I think he did a really good job with this. Still having the articulate and giving the same 110% of the video, and not just being casual about it, I guess. At least it didn't seem that way to me. Yeah, it's another instance where, like, when I'm on Digest, this pause that I just did, other people would have cut that out, or they would have figured that out, or they would have reworded it or something. But I like keeping these flaws in for some reason, because I like it being long, I suppose. Ugh, I don't know. Or just, yeah, I don't know if that's interesting. I think about that too, where I'm like, Digest is just kind of a slapdash, like, on the screen or whatever. And it could be doing better. But then it would take more effort and work. And it's tough. It already takes a lot out of my day. It is what it is, I guess. No, but I just really enjoyed this video, and I appreciate the polish he puts out on it, and the insight was just fantastic. I loved it. And, I think I felt pretty even about all these videos, pretty much. There wasn't like a super standout last one of this sort of thing, but I was like, if I'm going to give it to anybody, I think I'd probably give it to MercuryFalcon, in terms of the last spot sort of deal. Lesbian horror anime that defined a decade, Fight Icer 1. And I think it was because he especially got more personal, especially towards the beginning, where he's talking about his early anime fandom, and how he's able to move in with his roommates in the same kind of had a part community aspect thanks to Icer, and the thing he was using with the TV, filming the TV, was really cool. But then doing the thing that he always does best, which is really diving into the production history. I was watching it and thinking, like, this is really what a review can be like, where you're really giving the audience the information that wouldn't just be on the cover, or would be from watching the show itself. He's not really giving his opinion pretty much at all. I mean, he gives his personal perspective. He's like, oh, I like it, obviously. Like, this got me into this and this and this. And so he makes that clear, I think. But he doesn't overdo it with like, this is so good, or like, here's this, it's not so good when a climax or something like that. I think the most he ends up doing is just like, fans were too happy, so it didn't sell well, right? And he just kind of gives it as like general perception, like, oh, this bombed or this was successful and they were able to make this to part 2 and part 3 type of thing, and giving the general cultural context and the history of it and all the background detail and learning about the production stuff that you wouldn't even that you probably wouldn't even get from like a behind the scenes video in the same way. It is the sort of like YouTube video you would want a series like this to have. And you would want an anime to have this sort of thing, this sort of like informational thing that you wouldn't just get anywhere. So I just find that very valuable and well done. I did mention I actually left a comment, and I was going to mention it on Digest, and then like the funny thing was so I mentioned that as like, you could put this in like a 4:3 aspect ratio, like export the video that way, because almost all of his footage is that way. Even when he films his TV, he put that in 4:3, like, or kind of put it in 4:3 aspect ratio. His title cards are the same way. They were in 4:3. So it's like, why don't you do that? But I give the but because I understand the limitation, and ends up being you literally have less space. So I can understand it'd be a little difficult. You end up like limiting yourself in a way, in terms of the things you can show. I get that. But I was noticing that where it's like a lot of this is in 4:3 anyway. It's kind of weird that you still maintain keeping it to 16:9. Maybe it's like the algorithm will do better on that or something. Or I don't know. I don't know what the other reasons might be. Not that it was a bad thing. It wasn't like a detriment on the video or anything. Not at all. I'm just coming from the perspective someone who I've done that for a couple of my videos. I always find that to be kind of singularly unique. Not to me or whatever, like, don't take that, or like, I want more people to do that. I don't know. I think it's just like an interesting alternative to what we've done for years with anime YouTube, with this 4:3 aspect ratio. What do you do on the sides? You blur the background, you do this other, and it works. There's no harm in doing it that way, and it's fine. And I did that with my videos, of course. But I found that I don't know. I just like the having the full footage type of thing. Maybe it helps with copyright. That could be another thing. I don't know. But it's just an observation I thought was interesting. That it's like you really commit to the 4:3 thing for these other things. That's like there's the other step that's right there. Not to pry too much on that idea, I guess. No, but I really liked it. It was really what you expect, and you learn things about this production. Like, even if you've seen this before, it's an additive, valuable video. And if you haven't seen it before, then it ends up being more of a recommendation, like more of a like incentive for you to check it out because you're just watching it and you're just like, wow, that looks really fun and cool. I like those sorts of videos, and I'm happy you're making them. And of course, I don't know. I like that also that you're starting to kind of dip toe a little into like, giving your more other opinions and things, like the side thing about Hathaway's Flash, of like, I did not like that movie at all, or it has this thing, it doesn't have that same, it felt weird to me. It's like that. I like those sorts of observations. How necessary they are, it is what it is. But I mean, I think those were cool. Yeah, I enjoyed this video. As I usually like to repeat all the time on Digest, because I have nothing more original to say, I guess. Yeah. It was really cool. Nice job on that. Okay, that'll do it for this installment of the AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.